少し待っていろ。紹介状を書く。
ダリさんに恋人がいたら、どこかの食堂か酒場で会えば大丈夫だよね。
Dahlia in Bloom, episode number 4. This was an awesome episode for a variety of reasons. My main reason for really, really loving this episode is really Dahlia's dad. And in Dahlia's eyes, you know, even with all her past knowledge, with being reincarnated, with being, more intelligent beyond her years, even her, she only saw her dad, which, it makes sense, as you're living your life as a kid and you're growing up and you, the reality is if we all get isekai'd, right, even with all the knowledge that we may have today, we're still going to have to kind of go through life again. And even with all of that, she kind of only saw her dad on the surface level. She was like, oh, he was a very successful, very amazing, magical, magic artificer, and he really liked his booze kind of thing. And what she saw of him was very surface level. And I love how the vice president of the guild or whatever, the trade guild, or vice chairman of the trade guild, it told her like, your dad was deeper than that. Your dad was, the reason that I met my husband, which is a really cool thing. You know what I mean? Especially that for somebody who, who is deep in love with their spouse or whatever, like that is something they're going to hold really high of like, your dad was the reason that I was able to meet my life partner. That's a pretty strong statement. And that's a pretty strong relationship you have built with a good friend. But then she also tells Dahlia about like, one of the things your dad loved doing was, having people owe him favors. So kind of like sticking his hand out first when maybe somebody else wouldn't to help somebody just so that they could owe him back, but then making them be quiet about it and only pulling on that string maybe, when he absolutely needs to kind of thing. And I'm just like, that's really cool. And it really is abundant by the fact that, hey, the moment that she got duped by the, the trading company that her ex-fiance was a part of, and her ex-fiance has a stick up his ass. He's like, oh, if you're not going to give me XYZ, then I'm not going to do business with you or whatever, the Orlando company or whatever. And she goes to the trade guild and she tells them that, and they're like, oh, well, you should just do your own trade company, just do your own trading company, and we'll back you. And then you have the husband of her best friend who does the hairdressing. He's like, I'll back you. Another guy that has worked with her in the past for the coats, like, I'll back you. One of the other guys who works at the trade guild saying, I'll back you. And then you have the chairman saying, I'll back you. So it's like, it's kind of like, what happened with him is like a blessing in disguise for her, because she's going to be able to not only be her own magic artificer, but she could be, through her company, she could end up being her own supplier of magic items, and basically she'll have full control over it. Obviously with some stockholders, with some business partners, to reap some benefits and to maybe have to, help her out through her journey. But ultimately, like, she's going to be able to kind of like really have full control over all the future inventions that she's going to have and everything. I think that's only going to be more beneficial. So I really loved, seeing all of that, seeing the deep ties that her dad had kind of everywhere. And conversely, as she's grown up, all of her dad's friends, and connections he's made, has seen her grown up and seen her make her own inventions up to, having the raincoat or like the material, which is extremely useful to a ton of different ventures in the capital. It's important to adventurers, it's important to monster slayers, it's important to caravans, it's important to so it's like she has really established herself through her own skill. So it's not even the connections her dad made, it's the own connection that she has, like a continuance of her dad, and she's kind of fortified her own name and person and abilities, and I think that's really, really cool to see. The other reason that I really loved this episode was Wolf, and obviously the future relationship that's going to happen between Dahlia and between Wolf. And at the end of the episode, he made it very clear that he wants to go and find her. And I think finding somebody with red hair and the way she looks is not going to be very difficult, even if she happens to be a woman when he finds her. But I love that he's going to go search for her. So what that tells me is that the whole confusion about Dahlia being, presenting herself as a man, and Wolf's, being able to see her that way isn't going to last very long. Like, I think next episode, Dahlia will probably get outed by him or found by him in her final form, and that'll just kind of branch out into a relationship, hopefully, or really not maybe romantic at first, but at least a relationship, at first. But I think she'll definitely get outed next episode or the one after. So I don't think that confusion will last very long, especially with the what it seems as Wolf is pretty hungry or pretty bullish about going and finding his savior, and somebody who really went out of their way for him. And really, at the end of the day, if it wasn't for Dahlia, he wouldn't be standing there to earn a brand new title and to earn everything else. He would have just died, bled out and stuff. So she may not think much of it, but from his eyes, I can definitely understand on why he would, because she legitimately did save his life and then cared for him and fed him and allowed him travel, etc., etc., etc. And she also turned on his brain with a lot of really cool conversation with the fact that she's a magical artificer, and she can probably provide some kind of future for him with a magical weapon that only suits him, created through her. So you can kind of see some of the writings on the wall for how their relationship will bloom. All right, I'm gonna leave you guys on those thoughts there. There's a few other things that happen this episode. A lot of other moments, but I think this episode felt really long, and I think that's what's really cool. But I think those are the two main points I really wanted to talk on this episode. But Chef's Kiss, Dahlia and Bloom, really good. I have 3 anime or 4 anime today to cover, and this was the first one I wanted to watch today, because I was like, okay, I need to watch this episode out the gate, because this is what I'm looking forward to seeing what ends up happening after we got left off on last week with her encounter with Wolf, and it did not disappoint. So let me know your guys' thoughts in the comments down below, and I'll see you guys next week for episode 5. Peace out, my friends.